Hi, I'm Rebecca Carter, and my family never let me forget that I was the one they thought was beneath them. My sister flaunted her wealth and power, while I was mocked and humiliated. But the day they laughed at me for a worthless gift was the day their world turned upside down. The crystal wine glasses clinked together, a sound that always felt too sharp in my parents' formal dining room. It was my 30th birthday, but the celebration wasn't for me. It was for my sister, Vanessa. It was always for Vanessa. Before we dive in, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below telling me, where in the world are you watching from? I love seeing how far this story travels. And this one, she said, swiping through photos on her oversized phone, is the Aspen property. The view from the master bedroom is just to die for. You can see the entire mountain range. My mother leaned in, her eyes wide with admiration. Oh, Vanessa, it's exquisite. Your third home. I can't believe it. Well, you have to invest your money somewhere, Vanessa said with a casual shrug, as if buying multi-million-dollar estates was like choosing a brand of cereal at the grocery store. My father raised his glass. To Vanessa, building an empire, one beautiful house at a time. We are so proud of you. To Vanessa, my mother echoed. I lifted my glass of water, the silence around my own achievement, or lack thereof, deafening. I had just passed my nursing board exams, a goal I had worked towards for 6 years while juggling 2 jobs. I'd mentioned it in an email last week. No one had brought it up. After the toasts and the endless slideshow of Vanessa's lavish life, my mother remembered the reason for the dinner. Oh, right, Rebecca's birthday. Time for presents. My parents gave me a gift card to a department store. It was practical. It was impersonal. It was exactly what I expected. Then Vanessa pushed a flat, rectangular package across the polished mahogany table. It was wrapped in cheap, crinkling paper from a discount store. Happy birthday, sis, she said, a smirk playing on her lips. She always had that smirk, the one that said, I'm better than you, and we both know it. I unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a painting. It was an old, dusty canvas in a simple, dark wood frame. The painting was of a plain farmhouse sitting in a field of dry, yellow grass under a gray, cloudy sky. It was dark, dreary, and utterly unremarkable. A small snort of laughter escaped Vanessa's lips. Then my father chuckled. Soon my mother joined in, a high-pitched titter that felt like a needle in my ear. Oh, Vanessa, you have such a sense of humor, my mother managed to say between giggles. Vanessa leaned back in her chair, beaming with satisfaction. I found it at a little thrift store. It just screamed Rebecca, you know? Perfect for you. Cheap and boring. The words hung in the air, sharp and ugly. Cheap and boring. They weren't just talking about the painting. They were talking about me. I looked at their smiling faces, their eyes full of amusement at my expense, and I felt a familiar coldness spread through my chest. I forced a smile onto my own face. It was a reflex I had perfected over a lifetime. Thank you, I said, my voice barely a whisper. It's thoughtful. The lie tasted like ash in my mouth. This was my life. This had always been my life. Growing up, our home was a stage, and Vanessa was the star. She was the pretty one, the smart one, the one destined for greatness. I was the quiet one, the afterthought, the shadow she cast. I remembered when we both turned 16. For Vanessa's birthday, a brand new convertible was parked in the driveway, tied with a giant red bow. My father handed her the keys and said, "The best for the best." When my birthday came around 6 months later, my father gave me a bus pass. "It's more practical for you," he'd said. "You need to learn the value of hard work." They paid for Vanessa's Ivy League education, without blinking. When she wanted to start her own interior design business, they gave her a 6-figure loan as seed money. She never paid it back. I worked night shifts as a waitress to put myself through community college, then a state nursing school. Apartment was a tiny studio with a leaky faucet and neighbors who fought all night. I ate ramen noodles and studied until my eyes burned. When I finally graduated, exhausted but proud, I called my parents. "That's nice, honey," my mother had said, her voice distracted. "Listen, I have to go. Vanessa is on the other line. She's having a crisis about which marble to choose for her new kitchen. Every small victory I earned felt insignificant in their world. Every dollar I saved was a joke compared to the fortune they handed my sister. They never told me they were proud. They just told me I was lucky to have a family to fall back on, even though I never did. I was tolerated, a piece of furniture in the house they had built for their perfect daughter. Back at the birthday dinner, the humiliation continued. As the plates were cleared, Vanessa gestured toward the painting I had placed on the floor beside my chair. "Seriously, though, Becca," she said, using the childish nickname she knew I hated. "Don't hang that painting anywhere public. People might think you pulled it out of the trash." My father laughed again, a deep belly laugh that shook the table. "She's got a point, Rebecca. It's a bit of an eyesore." My mother just smiled, a quiet, complicit smile that hurt more than any words. It was the smile of someone who had chosen a side long ago. I felt the anger churning inside me, hot and bitter. It was an old anger, one I had swallowed down for years. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the painting at the wall and watch it shatter. I wanted to ask them why. Why was I never enough? Why did they enjoy my pain so much? But I didn't. I just sat there and took it. The forced smile cemented on my face. That was my role. The quiet, accepting daughter who never made a fuss. I was the family's punching bag, and I was good at my job. I'll find a special place. "For it?" I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. The drive back to my tiny apartment was a blur. I clutched the steering wheel, my knuckles white. The painting sat on the passenger seat, its gloomy landscape a perfect reflection of how I felt. When I finally got inside, I didn't turn on the lights. I just leaned against the closed door, the silence of my empty apartment pressing in on me. I had spent my whole life trying to earn their love, their approval, their respect. I had worked so hard, hoping that one day they would look at me and see something worthwhile. But tonight, I realized the truth. They would never see me. They didn't want to. To them, I would always be the joke, the failure, the cheap and boring painting. That night, something inside me broke. It wasn't a loud, dramatic shatter, but a quiet, clean snap. The part of me that still hoped for their love just gave up. I was done. Done trying. Done hoping. Done caring what they thought. I carried the painting into my small living area and set it on my coffee table. The table was a cheap piece of particle board I'd assembled myself, wobbly and scarred with coffee rings. Under the dim light from the street lamp outside my window, I stared at the painting. Vanessa was right. It was ugly. The colors were muddy, the scene depressing. But as I looked closer, my anger began to fade, replaced by a strange curiosity. I ran my fingers over the canvas. It was thick with paint, the texture uneven. The brushwork, which had looked sloppy at first, now seemed intentional. There was a confidence in the strokes, a hidden energy beneath the dreary surface. It didn't look cheap, not up close. A little voice in the back of my mind, a voice I hadn't heard in a long time, whispered, "Look closer." I turned on every lamp in my apartment, bathing the painting in bright light. I examined the corners, the edges, the back of the frame. There was no signature that I could see, but there was something, a faint, almost invisible mark near the bottom, hidden in the dark paint of the grass. It looked like two initials, an L and a W. My heart gave a little flutter. It was probably nothing. Just some unknown hobbyist's work, bought for $5 at a dusty thrift store. But my instinct, that quiet whisper, wouldn't let it go. I opened my laptop and started searching. I typed in 19th century American landscape painters. Hundreds of images popped up. I scrolled for hours, my eyes growing tired. I searched for painters with the initials LW. I found a few, but none of their styles matched the painting on my table. Just as I was about to give up, I stumbled upon an article about a reclusive artist named Lawrence Whitaker. He was known for his dark, moody landscapes of rural America. He rarely signed his full name, often just using his initials. The article said that most of his work was thought to be lost or privately owned, and that his paintings were incredibly rare. My breath caught in my throat. I pulled up an image of one of his known works, a painting of a stormy sea. The style was different, but the brushwork, it was the same thick application of paint, the same confident, almost aggressive strokes. The same feeling of hidden energy. My hands were shaking. It couldn't be. It was impossible. This was a joke gift, a piece of trash meant to humiliate me. But what if it wasn't? The next morning, my mind was racing. I felt like I was living in a dream. I found a website for a certified art appraiser in the city. With a trembling finger, I filled out the contact form, attached a few high-resolution photos of the painting, and hit send. I told them I had inherited it and knew nothing about its origins. Dear Ms. Carter, thank you for your submission. The piece you have is intriguing. While we cannot make a definitive assessment from photographs alone, the brushwork and style are highly characteristic of Lawrence Whitaker. If it is authentic, it would be a significant find, as his farmhouse period works are exceptionally rare. We would like to schedule an in-person examination at your earliest convenience. I read the email 3 times. A significant find. Exceptionally rare. The words swam before my eyes. I scheduled an appointment for the following week. The day of the appraisal felt surreal. I wrapped the painting in an old clean blanket and took a taxi to a fancy building uptown. The appraiser was an older man with kind eyes and gentle hands. He took the painting from me and placed it on a velvet-covered easel under a bright light. He examined it with a magnifying glass, looked at the back of the canvas, and spent a long time just staring at it in silence. I sat there, my hands clasped so tightly in my lap that my knuckles were white. The silence in the room was so loud, it was ringing in my ears. Finally he turned to me, his expression unreadable. "Where did you say you got this?" he asked softly. "It was a gift," I said, my voice hoarse. He nodded slowly. "Well, it's quite a gift." He took a deep breath. "Ms. Carter, this is without a doubt an original Lawrence Whitaker, from what we call his lost years. Around 1885. It's a masterpiece. We haven't seen one from this period come to market in over 50 years. I couldn't speak. I just stared at him. "In its current condition," he continued, "I would estimate its auction value to be somewhere in the range of $20 to $25 million. $25 million. The number didn't even sound real. It was an amount of money I couldn't comprehend. It was more money than my entire family, with all their bragging and their luxury estates, had probably ever seen in one place. The appraiser handed me a folder with the official paperwork, the certified appraisal value printed in bold, black ink. I took it with a hand that was numb. I thanked him, walked out of the building, and hailed a cab. The entire ride home, I just stared out the window, the folder sitting on my lap like a bomb. Back in my apartment, I laid the papers on my wobbly coffee table next to the painting. $25,000. My first thought was, I have to tell them. I imagined the phone call, the shock, the disbelief, and then I knew exactly what would happen next. Vanessa would claim it was a mistake. She'd say she never meant to give it to me, that it was a family asset she had just been holding on to. My parents would back her up. They would sue me. They would tear me apart in court, painting me as a greedy, ungrateful daughter who was trying to steal from them. They would turn my one moment of incredible luck into another nightmare. They had given me this painting to hurt me. They had laughed in my face. They saw it as worthless trash, just like they saw me. A new feeling washed over me, cold and clear and powerful. This wasn't their discovery. It was mine. I was the one who looked closer. I was the one who saw the value where they saw only a joke. I took the appraisal documents and tucked them away in a safe place. I wouldn't tell them. I wouldn't tell anyone. This was my secret. This was my power. They gave it to me as a joke. Now, it was my crown. A few weeks later, I got an invitation to Vanessa's housewarming party for her new estate in the Hamptons. A part of me wanted to decline, to cut them out of my life for good. But another part of me, the part that had just found its spine, wanted to go. I wanted to see them, knowing what I knew. The party was as obnoxious as I'd expected. Hundreds of people dressed in designer clothes milled around a giant marble patio, sipping champagne and looking bored. Vanessa was in her element, floating, from group to group, accepting compliments about her home, her dress, her success. She spotted me standing by myself near the ridiculous, oversized pool. She glided over, a fake smile plastered on her face. "Becca, I can't believe you made it. I'm so glad you could see what a real home looks like, she said, loud enough for the people around us to hear. I just smiled. It's very nice. Vanessa. So, she continued, her eyes glittering with malice. Did you ever hang that ugly painting I gave you? I bet it looks right at home in your little shoebox apartment. Her friends chuckled. A few years ago, a comment like that would have crushed me. I would have felt my face flush with shame. But now, I just felt a strange sense of calm. I held a $25 million secret, and her petty insults felt like pebbles bouncing off a brick wall. I took a slow sip of my club soda. I found the perfect spot for it, I said, a real, genuine smile touching my lips for the first time. It's growing on me. She looked confused for a second, thrown off by my lack of reaction. But then she just shrugged and moved on, off to find someone more important to impress. I stood there for a few more minutes, watching her, and I felt nothing but pity. She had all this, the houses, the money, the fake friends, but she was so empty inside. Her happiness depended on making other people feel small. My happiness was now entirely my own. I didn't sell the painting right away. For months, it was my silent companion. I spent my days working at the hospital, saving lives, doing a job that mattered. And I spent my nights knowing that I had a secret that could change everything. The knowledge was its own kind of wealth. Then, I was contacted by a curator from a major art museum. The appraiser had, with my permission, discreetly let the art world know that a lost Whitaker had been found. The museum wanted to feature it in an upcoming exhibition on American landscape. Masters. It was the perfect way. The night of the exhibition opening was a blur of flashing cameras and important people. I stood beside my painting, which now hung on a pristine white wall, perfectly lit, looking like the masterpiece it was. It was no longer dark and dreary. It was profound and full of emotion. People spoke about it in hushed, reverent tones, and there I was, next to it. Rebecca Carter, the owner. Not the daughter, not the sister, not the failure. Me. The news broke the next day. It was everywhere. Rare $25 million masterpiece unearthed in private collection of New York nurse. My picture was in the papers, on the news websites, on TV. There I was, standing proudly beside the trash my family had given me. I didn't have to call them. I knew they would see it. The phone rang that afternoon. It was Vanessa. I almost didn't answer, but I knew I had to. This was the final scene. "Rebecca!" she shrieked, her voice shrill and ugly. There was no greeting, no preamble. "What is this? What have you done?" "I'm not sure what you mean," I said calmly. "The painting. The news. They're saying it's worth $25 million. That's a lie, right? It's some kind of sick joke." "It's no joke." "Vanessa," I replied, my voice even. "It's all true." There was a choked sound on the other end of the line. "No, no way. That painting was mine. I bought it. You have to give it back. That money belongs to the family." I could hear my father yelling in the background, my mother sobbing. The chaos was exactly as I had pictured it, but I felt nothing. No anger, no fear. Just a quiet finality. "That should have been mine," Vanessa finally screamed, her voice cracking with rage and disbelief. We were in a coffee shop a few days later. She had demanded to see me. Her face was pale and blotchy, her expensive clothes looking rumpled. She looked smaller somehow. "You stole it from me," she hissed, her voice low. People at the next table looked over. I took a sip of my coffee and looked her straight in the eye. "I didn't steal anything," I said, my voice clear and steady. "You gave it to me on my birthday. You tossed it across the table like it was garbage." I leaned in slightly. "Remember? Trash to treasure." The color drained from her face. Her arrogance, the armor she had worn her entire life, crumbled. For the first time, I saw my sister look truly, utterly defeated. There was nothing she could say, no argument she could make. She had done it to herself, in front of witnesses who had laughed along with her. She had handed me my freedom on a silver platter. I sold the painting a month later to a private collector. The money that appeared in my bank account was staggering. A number with so many zeros it looked like a mistake. I didn't buy 3 luxury estates. I didn't buy a new car or a designer wardrobe. The first thing I did was buy a simple, beautiful house on a quiet street with a big backyard, a place that felt like home. I set up a scholarship fund for nursing students at my old college. I traveled. I breathed. I am sitting in my new dining room now. The sun is streaming through the window, and the only sound is the ticking of a clock on the wall. It's peaceful. There are no shadows here, no judgment, no laughter at my expense. I finally have a life that is completely my own, built not with their money or their approval, but with the punchline of their cruelest joke. Sometimes the gift they mock, the one they think defines your worthlessness, is the one that ends up crowning you. If you've ever been underestimated, remember, silence is power. Your moment will come. Drop a comment, like, and subscribe for more stories where poetic justice finds its way.